This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, just another voice in the wilderness. Today I'm going to talk about from competition is a sin to competition is for losers. As many of you know, the first phrase or quote was from Rockefeller, and the second from Peter Thiel. There is a pattern on every, if you want to understand any system or any society or civilization, you need to look for patterns. And since the development of what for me is the paradigm of imperialist civilization, which means that is a civilization based on a society caste class based society. From the beginning of that started, probably that is associated with the agricultural revolution, the first agricultural revolution, and the ability to store grain, to produce and store grain in large quantities, and to start to have a society divided in classes or castes. And what is the pattern? What is the main pattern? The main pattern is that the people, the individuals, and the groups, but starting with the individuals, with certain characteristics, which they can have traits. They usually are opportunists. They are smart. Of course, they need to be smart. But they are opportunists. They don't have scruples, which means they are sociopaths. Have these traits. Narcissistic. They might be megalomaniacal. They want to accumulate wealth. They search for power. They want power. They want to have power and control. So these traits of sociopathy, psychopathy, opportunism, narcissism, megalomania, I don't know how to spell it correctly, are present usually as opportunism, in the form of opportunism and manipulation. So, what begins? We can see it in so many organizations and institutions that become powerful, and they become powerful for two reasons. They can be used for cultural colonization, to control the mind of people, or to help those people to control the wealth, the property, the land, the people, and everything, the resources and everything. And this is the traits, which means that what we call civilization has been always, or most of the time, controlled by people with antisocial, anti-human, anti-life traits. We are, the human species is a deeply social species. We have survived as a species on the basis, you don't need science to understand it. It's common sense. Okay? There are so many BS about our ancestors. The truth is, even today you can find it. The truth is, our species, it was always the survival of the tribes, the communities, the indigenous communities have to be based on reciprocity. Okay? Reciprocity is what makes the community understand that they need to share, they need to do things together. It doesn't mean that they don't have personal items or they don't have individuality. No, they understand that the survival of the community, of the tribe, depends deeply on that interdependence, that reciprocity. So the economy, the principle of any economy that is human economy, it has to be based on reciprocity and sufficiency. So we have a civilization that now is a global civilization because people, I do understand that civilization, what we call civilization, has achieved incredible things. That is true. But that should not be overemphasized, because what we have achieved because of people, of the accumulation of wealth and property and the division of labor, the possibility of the people with power and wealth to use that power and wealth to fund arts and science and mathematics and philosophy and all the what we call today specialization. That's this ability that people with natural or talents, they can develop the skills, they can study, and they can dedicate their lives to the development or of specific areas, to dedicate their time. And then, of course, that is, if you can do that, because you don't need to worry about the basics for survival, you can develop intellectually or aesthetically uh, in a very deep and wide way. And that's why we could have these people with these specific skills and talents, developing the arts, architecture and engineering and science and all, and literature and everything else. So that's what we call civilization, these achievements in arts, in literature, science, technology, that we just believe it represents the human ingenuity. But I don't want to bash it. I don't want to say that the many things that we achieved, especially in knowledge and understanding, because to me is what really to me it's more important. It's not exactly the incredible bridges and buildings and so many things that you can, and all the things that represent physically, materially, the power of science and technology and engineering, but is the knowledge itself. The knowledge itself that allows us fact-based, scientific-based knowledge that allows us to have a better understanding of ourselves and of nature, of life, of the cosmos, of the universe, whatever. So, and that is a good thing. But that's not being used, it has not been funded or used to have a society and a culture and a civilization where that matters and life matters and truly human development matters. It has always been subjugated by the accumulation of wealth, the pursuit of profit, self-interest, and glory and control, which means that the pattern is always the same. It is always the people with these characteristics, the opportunists, that we call them entrepreneurs. Okay, these days they are called entrepreneurs. They are the ones that they are not innovative, because usually the ones that we identify as entrepreneurs, they are not the ones that innovate. Sometimes the ones that innovate, they are not opportunists. They are the true scientists, the ones that like to explore, to push the boundaries, to build new things. They are intellectually curious people, and it doesn't mean that they cannot be at the same time opportunists. But sometimes are the opportunists that use them in order to achieve their goals. And their goals is not exactly science and technology. It's power, accumulation of wealth, concentration of power, and control. And this is why we need a web of deceit, as well as we need to convince people they need to compete. By people I mean most of us, that is normal and natural to compete for crumbs. That is how the world works, and it has always been like this. And we all have, if we work hard, if we do this and do that, we also can become rich and can fulfill the so-called American dream, you know? And we are supposed to believe that is true. Is it true or not that we can become rich out of hard work and good ideas, good business ideas? Yes, of course it is true, but that's not the point. That will be always, that it will always be the exception and not the rule. That's the first point. And the second point is that only the ones that achieve or cross threshold, which means that when they become really filthy rich, and they have the traits, the opportunistic traits, okay? They are sociopathic, and they understand that they need to buy political influence. That this is a very small percentage of the people that we call rich, okay? Because many rich people, or most of us, the rich people we know that are truly entrepreneurs, that they build factories, they have business, they grow food, and which means that they do they are useful for society. Okay, these people are usually not the ones that I'm talking about, because the rich people that are mainly operating in the real economy, they can be very productive citizens, they can be very useful for their communities, they can create real jobs, okay? So we can see them, perceive them as positive for the community to a certain extent, because there are other layers of this reality, which means that many times people just become rich by producing stuff that is unnecessary, that is superfluous, that requires resources, and they should not even exist, and we should discuss it openly, because not everything that is produced is useful for society, and it's not necessary, and it can be very damaging. And okay, we can say that, I know that many people say about how can we define what is superfluous, and what kind of things that are superfluous we should consider that they should exist from the ones that should be banned. Okay, that's a huge discussion, and I know this is not an easy discussion. Okay, it's not the point to talk about now. I'm just trying to clarify that sometimes even the ones that create jobs, that are they have a positive effect in their communities, they are not necessarily what they are producing. That's not necessarily good for society, for the environment, and so therefore we should probably have a discussion around it. what so in a society, as I said, when competition, when the true capitalists, which I mean the 0.1% or even less than that, okay, that are part of that they are the oligarchs and the plutocrats, okay, they are the ones that really have a saying. They might not be not be a unified class. They might have their differences, and they do have differences, and they might even fight each other in certain occasions, but they have the same goals, okay? And the same goals, the goals is the concentration of power, accumulation of wealth, and social control. And as the American empire had the intention to dictate global governance, to have the global control of the economy, finance, and military. So that was that intention is still not completely gone. So these people. So when we talk about the rich, we need to understand this difference. That is true, and we all know people rich in our own communities, and the small village, and the cities is different. But in small villages, we know who are rich, how people become rich, and this and that. So, and we have these examples in our life of people that have worked hard. They had a good idea. They also need to have luck as well, okay? Luck is important in life. But never, I'm not underestimate the hard working and the entrepreneurship and the good ideas, okay? So that's so these people become rich, and we, the people that live in this reality, in these communities, and our reality, the reality that we know about the rich is this reality. And sometimes it's difficult for us to understand that the layer or the in the hierarchical ladder or pyramid of wealth, the ones that really control the system is not these people we know that are rich, this kind of rich people we know. It is not because some of them do not have fascistic ideas and they would not be they would like to be part of this upper layer of the socioeconomic ladder, but they need to take care of their jobs, their enterprises, and sometimes it's not. You cannot be. Nobody has the quality of being ubiquitous, so we cannot be everywhere at the same time. Okay, with this is very important to understand, because this layer, now we have the billionaire class. So when we talk about the billionaire class, we talk about people that have incredible amounts of money I mean, they control incredible amounts of wealth and capital, and in these modern times, most of it is leverage, is through debt and through many other financial schemes and scams, and it is so. This is in many ways, it gives them power, okay, but at the same time is not real. It is real because everything that can be transmuted into power and control is important in society. Okay, so that's why the other part of the patterns that we need to identify is how culture and knowledge and media is used to control the populations and to instrumentalize us. These people at the top of the socioeconomic pyramid, their power depend on cultural, ideological manipulation, which means that the web of deceit is not is a need. It's not just a want or a whim. It's a need. They need it. It is not about only the web of deceit is a diverse, it's a multi-layered there is competing again. Remember, competition is for losers. Okay, this is the modern version. Competition is for losers. And why is it for losers? Because it is us. Okay, us. We are the losers. We need to understand, to start with, that these people, they perceive us as inferior people, as kind of subhumans. We do not belong to the same, I mean, they believe themselves, they perceive themselves as superior, as different. It's not about being smarter. It's about being exceptional, about being an exception. So, they do not treat us as equals. They do not perceive us as equals. They do not treat us as equals. But they know that many among us are smart enough to understand their plots, to understand the tricks and all the machinations they use to control us. They know it. They know that we might not be like them, but we are smart enough, or at least many of them are smart enough to understand, to break through the web of deceit. That's why they need to spread confusion, and that's why they want the society divided, atomized, tribalized, that we basically don't agree, that basically we most of the time cannot agree So we just, even those who share basic beliefs about how society should be organized and how about the economy should be also organized, they end up fighting each other over minor differences, because we all are infected of this individualistic, this idea of that we always are promoting ourselves. There is always this superiority. This that is embedded in our identity, in how we perceive ourselves. Not because we perceive ourselves that way, but because it controls us from within. That's exactly the problem, where the problem lies. Because we all know, that is very easy to understand, that we all know that we are flawed, that we have limits, our intellect has limits, we are a living organisms, therefore we have to think and analyze at the same time as we are feeling, as the homeostatic processes are running to keep the body in conformity with the life standards. So therefore there are many things going on, and we sometimes do not seem to understand it, and that we are always pointing the finger to, pointing the finger and criticizing our peers because they had the wrong opinion about something, and then we fight over it. And of course, and because if people it's about being right. So it's not about if our goal is about being right and not about being open to discussion, and not about understanding that we all have wrong assumptions and intellectual flaws, and that's why we need each other, and that's why it's not about being better or superior or whatever. It's about being open, being humble, being intellectually humble and psychologically humble to discuss the issues, not to dig trenches. And that's why for example, the left these days, so we cannot agree, because it's not about creating a common platform, or it's about being right, as if we could always be right, or is a single school of thought could be right. No, of course not. Of course, the reality doesn't work like that, and we know it about our own lives, our own experience, that we need to change, we need to adapt, we need to correct ourselves, because it is a process. It's not about that facts count, and we should. But this is This is why I say that most of us, if not all of us, are affected deeply at the subconscious level, affected by this mentality, this divisionist mentality, this individualistic perception of the world. You know, this is about, that's why it's always, I say and I repeat it, it's about ideas and values and principles, not about people. Because we will always find something to criticize. Okay? We always find something to point the finger, to vilify, to ridicule. And how do we achieve? We, the ordinary citizenry, how can we achieve how can we organize and unite if we follow the same playbook, if we follow the playbook that the oligarchs and plutocrats, the ruling class, uses to divide us. And we instead of refusing to play by it, we just have internalized it, and we don't even try to understand. And this is one very important point. That is not very. I mean, I don't see it very much, discussed. I don't see it being discussed. So the ruling class, which is, I mean, by ruling class, there are many layers, and we need to understand that the ruling class, which means the top of the oligarchy and the plutocracy, and the plutocrats and the oligarchs at the top, they do not alone. They do not run the system alone. As I said before, they need accomplices, and they need to create a web of partnerships, of accomplices, which means, for example, we have the permanent bureaucracy, which is a power by itself. Okay, it runs their own agendas, and it is very influential, because especially at the level as the level of the intelligence agencies, but also at the non-governmental industrial complex. But all of this, it has to be, the wealth and the power. It's always there is always some form of centralized power. Because if it would be anarchic, it would not do the work they need to do, which is control, which means that the wealth and the property and the institutions, national and international, all the mechanisms that are required to control countries, governments, And populations, they need to be centralized in some form. They might look decentralized, but they need to be centralized. So we cannot, and this permanent bureaucracy is always there is always a connection between this power of this concentration of power and accumulation of wealth and control. So we cannot understand it separated from this layer, these the hidden agendas that are always permanently being implemented. So then, at the level, this is the part of the iceberg that is submerged, the so-called deep state and permanent bureaucracy. At the level, at the part of the iceberg that is visible, we have the professional managerial class, okay, which can be is a part of the bureaucracy, is technocrats, bureaucrats, liberal professions, all these people that are involved in the management of the managed democracy, which, to give the illusion that we still live in democracy, when of course we are not. We don't live in democracies, and we know it now. If you are a citizen of the European Union, I think you can understand that the European Union is not a democratic institution. What they are doing, what they can do, for example, the ability to sanction citizens, to freeze their accounts, to control their movements without any legal base, but just political decisions, is not democratic. It's fascistic. It's autocratic. They do exactly what they claim the enemies do, like Putin or other enemy countries that they try to portray as totalitarian and autocratic and fascistic and dictatorial and so on and so forth. So we need to have a clear picture about the main patterns that are used, that emerge out of this reality, of the reality of the imperialist civilization that in our times, nowadays, is in the form of neoliberal capitalism, but it is the rule by the oligarchs and plutocrats. So we live not in a democracy, we live in a plut oligarchy. That's the kind of regime that is imposed on us, and this is what we need to understand in order to organize and unite. Because if we do not if we do not have a clear picture of the patterns and of the ideological and cultural framing that is being used to justify a societal system, an economic, a political system, a social order structure, okay, that is based on manufactured scarcity, enclosure of the commons, exploitation and control and coercion. We do not understand why is that. Why do we have this reality? Why poverty and inequality? Because if you perceive poverty and inequality as the result of the lack of qualities of our brothers and sisters, of the people just like us, or people not only like us, but us ourselves, as inherently losers, inherently lacking the skills to function in a way to be successful, because they give us the examples of people that of individuals that come from poor, disadvantaged origins, and they become successful entrepreneurs. But they give them as examples to justify the existing order, not to tell you that it would be mathematically impossible, that is totally unrealistic. It is a lie that we all, if we would have the right skills, if you would be hardworking and focused and this and that, we would become rich. That is an impossibility, that is a lie. And that's why we need to understand that what they want, what they do really want, is that we perceive, that as Peter Thiel said, competition is for losers. We compete with each other, we are divided, we are tribalized, and we do not, and we are atomized as well, and we do not, we feel, I mean, that is the part that I sometimes I don't remember to mention, which is the learned helplessness. They are extremely they are extreme. They are extremely successful in one thing, many things, but this particular thing, which is to make us feel this learned helplessness. They can make us feel helplessness, but is learned, is acquired, is not innate. Which means that we feel that there is nothing we can do to change the existing, or to challenge the existing order. So therefore, there is no point in uniting and organizing. And the division and subdivision and conflicts that we see, and these stupid wars amongst the left in the left spectrum is just an example of how successful their manipulation and machination is. They buy some, they frighten others, they keep us all in line. Because as I said, we as living organisms, we need to think and analyze and go through our intellectual and cultural transformative process. At the same time, we are running a living organism and taking care of a family and being worried with this and that. And they have almost all the advantages, and we have almost all the disadvantages in this process. Social media. It is useful. We share and learn, and we get to know about stuff that you didn't know. So it's very useful, and we can find people. We can find like-minded people, and I find it so it is also part of the struggle that for uniting and organizing. But at the same time, it is a stage. It is a platform where the losers compete with each other. So competition is for losers. Is also present in the social media. What do I mean by this? Because we might waste, or we do waste, time and energy, which is life, okay? Which is life, doing, not organizing and uniting, but scrolling, but doing an activity that in the end doesn't help us to build real organization, not to unite. Because in order to unite, we need to come together. We need to have an agenda and long-term thinking, and to be open to discuss and debate what divides us. How can we build organizations or movements or political parties or whatever that they need to be international. It doesn't mean that is not important. There are not fights that need to be done, that need to happen at the national level. Of course they are. But if we are not internationalists, if we do not understand that the enemy is globalized, is not because forget about the end of globalization. Those who talk about the end of globalization they are not correct. I don't want to say they are lying, okay? But they are not correct because they are the elites we talk about. They operate at the global level. Whether the model of globalization that we have now, that has existed until now, is going to disappear or not, because the trade and finance and political influence and everything else and geopolitical interference happens at the global level. So we need to be internationalists, and we need to organize along these parameters, along these lines. Otherwise, we are going to be defeated. And that is not going to happen in the social media. It's in the social media is and it's also not going to happen in the we can protest as much as we want. If we are not organized and have not a view for what kind of society and economy do we want, and we fight united with a purpose and a long-term view, we are going to be defeated, because we are just a bunch of people that are that dislike the existing order and goes out and protest, but there is no organization. There is just that's this individualistic. That's exactly the main problem. That we many of us we state our beliefs. We do want change, but we keep going on with our individualistic lifestyles. We don't want to change the way we live. We don't want to change our everyday lives, which are for most of us individualistic, because that's how we have been taught. That's coerced trained, programmed, whatever. That's the reality. And that's why the social media is not going to change that. So, I'm going to end now. Thanks for listening. I will be back soon.